All right, I want to talk now a little bit more about array lists, the section that you went through in your Zybook for today, and the section we introduced last time in class. And then I want to talk more about how we can then use arrays or array lists to actually store lists of objects rather than just lists of primitive types like numbers. So again, the topic that we introduced last time, we're going to talk a little bit more about that and then go through a real good example that I hope helps you realize how this is useful in the real world. So let's start by just talking about, very, very simply again, arrays, array lists. What are they used for? And here's just a couple of very, very simple examples of how we could use arrays and array lists to store lists of things, right? We want to store some collection of things. In this case, this would be an array of scores that we're storing that are all integers, and it would store 4 scores. Or we could do the equivalent thing with an array list. Okay, this would be the line of code that would create an array list called scores that's going to have some number of slots to store scores. So this picture, matter of fact, I'm going to erase this and put this. Let's erase this and put it up by the actual array. So this is kind of a conceptual picture of what this array would look like. Okay, in memory, where after we've run this line of code, we've got this array called scores here that's got 4 slots to store scores, and we can access those slots through these index values. Okay, after we run this line of code, we're going to conceptually have the same type of thing as this, except it just starts with a size 0. We haven't added anything to it, so there's really nothing in there. So now how do we add integers to either of these scenarios or either of these types of structures here? Well, we can write something like this. We can say scores 0 equals 90, and that actually puts a 90 here in score 0, and so on and so forth. We can put our scores anywhere. Let's just put a scores 1 equals 75, and that puts the number 75 here. And we could do that for every element of our array if we want. Okay, and you learned for today, and we talked about this a little last time, that you could do the same thing in an array list. You could say scores, except the syntax is just a little bit different. You say add 90, and that will just add the number 90 to the end of the list, where however many elements there are in the list, and then we could say scores dot add 75. And what that would effectively do is this line would start creating basically an array size 1 that has the value 90 in it after this line is run, and then the second line would just add one more element to the end. So now we have an array of size 2 with the value 75 in it. And again, the index values are still the same. So we could keep adding, and it would just add to the end of the list. And as you looked at for today, there's other ways to do this. You can add things at specific slots or insert things. Okay, but this is kind of the general idea, right? So we basically have these two options. We have arrays, we have array lists that we can use for storing lists of things or collections of things.